Madam Deputy Speaker, for many, myself included, Gough Whitlam was not only an inspiration, but was for the very reason for our enthusiasm for Labor politics. I had the honour of representing the electorate of Werriwa, which was held by Gough Whitlam throughout his political career. He was a man of vision, and certainly a vision for Australia's future, one who was not prepared to be constrained by the traditional historical ties, but prepared to venture into the new frontiers. Being the first Western leader of a major political party to visit China was not only groundbreaking at the time, but paved the way for current-day relationships not only with China, but for Australia and its relationships throughout the Western or the Asian region. Gough became the member for Werriwa in 1952, and following a redistribution, he and his wife Margaret and their family moved to Albert Street, Cabramatta in 1955. By the way, that's a fact that's still quoted to me today by many of the more elderly residents at Cabramatta. When he became the member for Werriwa, the boundaries of the electoral map were much different than they are today. As I say, his residence in Albert Street is just down the road from my electorate office in Fowler. I have the honour of reminding Gough on many occasions that representing Werriwa and now Fowler, I've represented both ends of his old electorate. Apart from meeting him on various party conferences and events, it wasn't until my by-election in 2005 that I had the opportunity for a more engaged discussion with Gough. Our early discussions around that period were a little frosty, given the fact that I was not the person he was supporting for pre-selection for his seat of Werriwa. For a while, my meetings with Gough generally involved a fair degree of fear and trepidation on my part, but in contrast, my wife Bernadette struck up a very close relationship with Margaret right from the start. Gough was above all a reformer. During his leadership, he was able to reform and modernise the Labor Party. Madam Deputy Speaker, he made the Labor Party electable. He had the genius of being the first major political figure to comprehend the fundamental changes necessary for the Australian community. He understood what the country needed was a new political focus on education, culture, social and infrastructure needs, particularly for the residents of the expanding outer suburbs and families of working class backgrounds. My generation and those that follow are the direct beneficiaries of the Whitlam legacy. Many people I meet in the various aged care facilities in my electorate recall the encounters with the Whitlams, whether it is Margaret teaching their kids to swim at the local pool or just having the opportunity to speak to the great man at various local events or branch meetings. Locally, the Whitlams were revered and much loved. Invariably, I'm told about Gough's commitment to enhance the basic infrastructure needs of the area. His campaign to establish an integrated sewage system for Liverpool and Campbelltown and the Fairfield areas is still firmly lodged in the mind of many of the elderly residents of the area. While current generations may have taken these developments for granted, but not for the tenacity of Gough, these developments would have been some time off. When I did meet with Gough in his office in Sydney, it was always like, for me, being in an inquisition. He always asking about people he knew from the electorate, from local branches, as well as developments that are occurring in the area. He was always interested. He always had his finger on the pulse. He did not regard Werriwa as something in his distant past. This is something I learned to appreciate about Gough, not just a political giant that many have already spoken about in this place, a political giant of the Labor movement, but someone who deeply cared about ordinary people. I remember one round of discussions I had with Gough in his Sydney office. Somehow we got to talking about his time in the RAAF. As I recall, he was in the 13 Squadron. He was flying as a navigator on a Ventura bomber. It wasn't just his clear recollection of events of this period that was so impressive. What took me by surprise was his unwavering loyalty to his flight crew. He stayed in contact with all members of the flight crew after they dispersed from the Air Force. And as a mark of the man's compassion, following the death of his pilot, he remained in contact with his widow. While it is right that we remember Gough as a great of the Labor movement, it is his attention to people and their particular circumstances that, for me and for many in my electorate, make him truly great. I offer my sympathies to his family. Edward Gough Whitlam, rest in peace.